you want to automate the remittances back to the government, whatever country you're in. You want to automate the correct calculations.
Hey everybody, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the best ways to manage your cash flow for e-com business. We were going to be talking about why you should be cautious with fixed expenses, the importance of getting money before you need it, and the best way to manage your marketing spend. Welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and FBA podcast. Okay, looking forward to this. Great topic going into 2023, and that's the best way to manage your cash flow for e-commerce businesses. Our guest today is a fractional CFO specializing in e-commerce. He specializes in long-term financial forecasting for e-commerce businesses doing $1 to $9 million in revenue. He spent his entire year in the trenches of small businesses, learning what it takes to grow, plan ahead, and keep a business alive and thriving like it should. Our guest today, first-time guest, Matt Putra. Anyways, let's go to a sponsor, and we'll get back to Matt shortly. I want to give a quick shout out to an incredible group of sponsors that help us produce this podcast for you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Lunch with Norm would not be possible without the support of the following sponsors: Post-Purchase Pro, Clear Ads, Goldstein Law, Honu Worldwide, Extreme Power, Jeff Schick Law, Netfluence, Startup Club, and Dragonfish Brand Management. Thank you, and you're awesome. Now back to and welcome, Matt.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, Matt, I'm sorry for things are glitching all the way around today. We've got the snowstorm that's happening. I'm hardwired here, showing that I'm getting a gigabyte worth of data, and yet I've hung about 3 or 4 times since the beginning of the podcast. So it might be Kelsey coming on and doing the podcast if I start hanging again.
Oh, he seems nice too.
He's not as nice as me. So hey, he's got a smaller beard too, like yours. Like this is like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You got Kelsey,
yep. Yeah, well, yeah,
and you got you, and you're just right. So there we go.
Thank you so much.
Tell me, in case people don't know what a fractional CFO does, can you just explain that a bit?
Absolutely. So at the very core of what we do is, you as a brand owner have a mission. We are going to help you resource it. So we're going to help you finance it. We're going to help you manage it. We're going to help you make a path to the scale that you want to get to. We'll put everything in a financial model and just test scenarios. And basically, we're trying to make sure that you can get to where you want to go and without running out of money.
That's a good thing. And a lot of times, especially, well, you know what? It's not just newer sellers. It could be any seller. I've seen large 8-figure companies that haven't done a financial plan properly, and they're losing money, and they have no idea that they're in a financial crisis until they find out, and usually that's too late. But everybody has to finance their inventory. Everybody has marketing expenses, and there's so many things that come up, especially Amazon expenses and new fees, that you really don't know those numbers. And then all of a sudden you think, oh, wow. And this has happened, by the way, to a few of my clients. And we warn them about this. Make sure you have enough money in the bank to, if you get a first base hit, second, third, if you get a home run, you've got to finance those orders coming through. And one of the companies I remember, I told, it's going to be one of those days. I told the person, look, you have to make sure this is a very popular product. Well, they sold out almost immediately. They doubled their order, sold out, doubled their order, sold out. This happened 4 times until he pretty much went under.
Really?
Yeah, under. And this product was a very good major success at the time. And I ended up buying his inventory and just,
Wow.
yeah, helping him out. But I ended up with a brand, and you have to have this stuff properly
Hmm.
finances. And, one of the things I want to talk to you about, and maybe we'll go down different rabbit holes, but I might be starting backwards. But where do people not consider, or where do they get caught up in having poor cash flow management?
The number one thing is where people get caught is you have a good year or a good 2 years, and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna hire some killers, and really gonna grow now.
Mhm.
We're gonna spend on marketing. We're gonna grow. That I've seen this. I mean, three, four, a number of times now. And when you have a good year and you want to just hit the go button, I've seen people add too much staff, spend too much on marketing, and without a financial plan to see how that might impact your margins and your cash flow and all those things. And it's a constant one. And I think it's part of human nature, right? Like you have a fantastic year, like good, I got this. But I think one of the big things is that everyone should stay as lean as possible for as long as possible, and just remember the days of working out of the garage and what that felt like. But always remember that, no matter how much you're making.
I met this, and he might be listening today. No names, of course, but you know who you are. I was at a very high end event. The event was a lot of money. It was like 12 grand to get into this event.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there learning from this guy, and very interesting, but it was more for advanced sellers.
Hmm.
And I see a person that was in my mentoring group, and he was in the first row. And
Hmm.
afterwards, I went up and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Oh, I thought this was really, a great conference to go to,
Hmm.
just to learn in advance." But I also knew that he was involved with all of these other things.
Hmm.
Do you know his product hadn't even arrived, and he already had a bill, recurring bill monthly of over $3,400 a month in groups, masterminds, all of it, and not including this $12,000 event that he should never have been involved with,
Yeah.
because it was really meant for companies that had 50 plus SKUs.
Hmm.
But that's one thing. Too many shiny objects, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, every single dollar should return you something, I think, and you should look at it that way as long as you can. So every dollar, if you're going to spend a dollar, you need to know what it's for, what it's going to return to you. Sometimes you spend a dollar to hire someone to help you so that you can rest, and but if that conference was going to return money to that guy, I mean, yeah, that might make sense. But if his product wasn't here yet, was it gonna,
Yeah, it was
right?
his first product. So I mean, that was the
Hmm.
problem with that. Okay, so trying to
Hmm.
figure that out. Can you Oh, there goes my phone. It's dead now. I'm telling you, today is the trifecta. Snowstorm, Wi-Fi going down, phone is dead. Okay. Oh my gosh. There can't be a fourth. Oh, now Siri goes off. All right. Now let's talk about some other things affecting cash flow. You want to start? Is there a list that we can go down that some
Yeah.
people overlook?
Yes, I've got a few things. Yeah. Should I start with the first?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. Okay. So, along with what we were talking about, every dollar needs to return something. Um, Everybody should be very cautious adding fixed expenses. And that
Mm.
is no matter what size you are, no matter what kind of year you've just had, or good, bad, all of it. Be cautious with adding fixed expenses. This is where people get caught. You add the staff, you get a nice office, you have these subscriptions or not, and then the market turns and you're stuck holding a bag of a lot of fixed expenses. Whereas if you had not had the office, or maybe you had a contractor instead of a staff member, then you can kind of adjust your cost structure very quickly. When the costs are fixed, it takes 3 to 6 months to fix them. And in that time, the market might have turned against you. Even if it's a short time, it can really put you in a pinch. So be so cautious. The brand owners that I've seen that are the happiest are the ones that have the least fixed costs, to be honest. Um, Life is hard because they work very hard, but it's not hard because they're worried about cash.
I I'm one of these people that lease everything.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had an office, I don't anymore, but I leased office furniture. I leased everything.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good strategy, or is it better to wait till you can afford it and buy it?
No, I think leasing has its place. I think it has a strong place because you can take the cost of a bunch of furniture, call it 10K, 20K to fit out an office,
Yep.
and then you can have very low monthly payments. So that is something that I would do if I could. If I had an office, I would be leasing things. I've recommended to a client of mine to lease all their computers, because again, it's a lot of fixed costs uh, to buy something upfront. Now, where I would say uh, you could purchase assets is if you have a strong cash reserve, your strong fundamentals, the business is still growing, then I think it's okay to purchase some assets, because leases can, the asset would cost you 1,500 instead of 1,000, let's say, right? But I have no issues with leasing. I recommend it all the time.
Right. I guess what you have to be careful of, and I was lucky. I went to this place in this little small town, and they were talking about just small business, understanding small business, and they were talking about insurance and buying a car versus
Hmm.
leasing a car.
Hmm.
Is it possible what you have to do in Canada to technically have a business, like when you're driving, to have it as a business car?
Hmm.
And it turned out, and this is really important for anybody who's doing this, to stop and think. If you think you're going to slide in a car as a business expense, and you get into an accident somewhere,
Hmm.
and you are on a business, like if you're doing a business delivery, and you are not, like in Canada, you have to have the signs on the card, and you have to have business expense. Well, the this person that was talking was denied that insurance.
Wow.
So it's just one of these things. You think you're getting a business write-off, where this is not a proper business write-off. And the other thing I'll tell you that is very important, and you're going to laugh at this is in Canada. So my friend, no names mentioned, but
Hmm.
very successful entrepreneur, um, was putting everything on cards. Now I put all my
Yep.
PPC on cards.
Yeah.
I put everything on cards because I get points.
Hmm.
Well, what I don't do because of this is I never use it as a personal, oh, let's go on a family trip.
Mm.
So he went on a personal vacation using his points that he
Hmm.
gained on his business card.
Hmm.
He got a $40,000 fine.
No way.
Yep. It was income that wasn't reported. And these are for business, like these are business points. So if it was on his personal card, that's not an issue. If it was on a business card, it was also something that was not reported. Sorry,
Wow.
income not reported. And he got a $40,000 fine.
I've never heard of CRA actually catching somebody. CRA,
Yeah.
the Canadian Tax Agency.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, and there's other thing. I was talking to Hafalabi, who's my business partner,
Hmm.
and I was just saying we've got to. And the reason why we're going down this path is
Hmm.
just to give you a couple of examples for anybody who's listening. But again, in Canada, maybe in the States, but I was told, and this goes back to that meeting in this little town about
Hmm.
running your business and running it properly. One of the things I wasn't doing was when I have an event, I if I was meeting with somebody for a meal, I wasn't. I would just I wouldn't put it in my calendar.
Hmm.
If
Hmm.
I wonder now, I put everything in my calendar. What the expense was for. If I have the receipt, I put the person's name on it and what we discussed.
Yep. Yep.
And and this was really important. Whenever I went to an event, I always bring back proof of the event. So it might be the
Yep.
lanyard, and that I keep it. So if I do ever get audited, I have that proof that, yes, I paid $5,000 for this event,
Hmm.
500 for this event, and they're not going to come back to me, with saying that this is a false claim.
It's important to have the backup. I have worked with people who don't keep any of their receipts, and if the government was ever to come asking, and this goes for, I would assume, a lot of countries, if the government was ever to come asking, they have carte blanche to deny a ton of expenses, which would mean they would jack up your net income and take a whole bunch of tax money from you.
Yeah.
Gotta have receipts, gotta have backup.
Yeah. And again, I've been told that this is just being plain anal, but this is, just an old guy over the
Yeah.
years having a little like too many scares.
Hmm.
But every one of my receipts that come digitally, Mary, my assistant, she goes in the morning and she sends it over to the bookkeeper. Bookkeeper puts it into QuickBooks.
Hmm.
But we go one step further. We actually take those receipts and file them on Google Drive and rename them. Now I know that's
Oh,
an
cool.
extra
Yeah.
step, but we just want to be better safe than sorry. And then you also, when you get your financial statements, you're gonna, or whenever you get whenever you get your financial statements, or if you're looking at your books, if there's no receipt attached, like let's say, for example, free up
Yep.
might not sell you or send you your receipt. You have to go in and get it. Or MailChimp, you might have to go in and get it. Well,
Hmm.
you still have to go in and get it.
Hmm.
Or like an audit might start 3 years later, like 2019.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're going back to whoever and they only store their invoices for two
Yep.
years. Now you got
Yep.
a problem.
Definitely.
Well, anyways, this is a long rabbit hole, but let's talk.
But it's a
Let's
good
talk.
one. We're gonna help people stop getting caught out. Yep.
You know what? Just been there, done it, bought the t-shirt. But let's talk about something more relevant. What's the importance of getting money, or knowing where your cash flow is going to come from before
Hmm.
you need it?
Yeah, totally. So there's two ways we can look at this. I mean, one is just generating money through revenue. The other is equity or debt financing. So the big thing with any form of financing is to go and get it, go secure it about 6 months to 9 months before you really need it. The reason why is because all banks and all investors, they don't want to give money to people that are in need.
Yeah.
They want to give money to people that don't need it because those people are secure and will pay them back. And so if you're thinking you might have a tough time period, 6 to 9 months away, go to the bank now or go to an alternative lender now, put your package together and go ask for money now. Um, and it'll be much easier to get. I mean, a lot of us might have just come off a pretty good Black Friday. If you feel like, you know, the early part of next year is going to be a bit tough, now is the time to go make some introductions to some lenders, send them your financials because they'll look good after Black Friday, hopefully, and go work on getting the money now. Because when April's tough, when you're trying to launch your spring or summer, and Jan, Feb, March has been tough, that's when it's going to be hard to get the money that you're going to need. So that's the number one, hugely important. So many people wait until like, oh shoot, we have like a month of operating expenses left. Let's go find it. And the bank's like, oh, that's too scary for us. No thanks, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And also there's money around. I mean, locally, you could check out your economic development
Yeah,
center.
definitely.
There are government, state and federal,
Hmm.
uh, uh, either grants, possibly.
Hmm.
And to get a grant, it's a little bit different. You might want to get somebody that knows how to write,
Yep.
and get that grant for you. But there is money around, and you just have to make sure that you use it for the proper things.
Hmm.
I'm one that I've got money before, not free money. You have to pay it back at some point, but you have to pay it back the right way, or you have to make sure you spend it the right way. And unfortunately, I didn't. I got stuck, and now you start
Mm,
scrambling, and now you have a lot of credit card debt, which you don't want to have. Uh,
no.
but that was the way I could pay things back. So all of a
Yep.
sudden, 19 to 29% you're paying every month because you were foolish with your money. So, and that was tough because I ended up, I think I think it was about $3,000 a month in interest,
Wow.
just trying to pay off this snag that I had. It was learning. It was learning.
Well, and it's yeah, I've seen it a number of times. And in fact, like, what happens if you wait too long is the price of the money that you're going to get, it goes up the longer you wait to get it. So I've seen somebody recently take something for like 50% APR, and they're just in a bind, and they need to get inventory on the way for spring. And so the money's costing them 50%.
Yeah.
So don't wait. The better your financials look, the cheaper the money is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important. Like if you're on a decline, it's a whole different story than
Yeah,
when you're, when you're
totally.
making it. And you also talked about the package, presenting the
Yeah.
package.
Hmm.
What is the package?
Good question. So banks love it when you have a nice little tidy package, and I'll explain what's in it. And the reason you make one is because you look like a genius. And so here's what goes in it. Um, so you're going to have all your financials from your accountant 3 years backwards. So your notice reader, review engagements, those things from your accountant, put them in a little. You can just use a Google Drive and have a few folders. So the financials folder is going to be your last 3 years of financial statements and tax returns. And then you're going to add in there your interim statements into that folder. The next folder is going to be called the corporate folder. You will add your certificate of incorporation, your articles of incorporation, just any of that background on who the corporation is, like legally. If you have investors, you're going to put in your shareholder, your share certificates, your the table. You'll put in things like, are there any holding companies or parent companies that are in there? So put all that stuff in the corporate folder. Your third folder will be just kind of if you have a forecast, you'll put it in there. Put the forecast in. You'll put any sort of marketing kind of business like information. So here's where we've been. Here's where we're going, or here's a new product. Things like that. And then the last thing you're going to want to have is a memo. The memo is going to be from you to the bank or the funder. You don't have to know who it is just yet. What the memo is going to do is it's going to just summarize all these things. Context, first section context. We're looking for this much money for this sort of purpose, and this much money for this sort of purpose. Just put a little bit of context in there. Background on the company. Here's where we've been. Here's where we're going. And the next section will be key metrics about your business: gross margin, customer acquisition cost, LTV, any of those metrics that make you look really good. Put them in that section. Explain why they're important. Explain why it means you're worth giving money to. And then that's probably the basics. The last section on the memo: input of some risks and mitigations in there. So look, next year we face this sort of risk, and here's how we're going to mitigate it. And anyway, when you have a memo like this and you go to a bank with a data room, you just send them the link. They can go in there and get all the information they need. There's going to be more questions, but you look like a genius, and you're making the banker's life very easy. You know what the banker wants, right? They want their commission as easy as they can get it. So the easier it is you make them, the better money you're going to be able to find.
Very good. I was lucky when I was, I think this was in the 2000s. Yeah, it was around 2005, 2006, 7. I was able to sit down with a very well-known business guy, and he allowed me, and I don't know why, but to sit in, because he was always getting pitched by all these companies, and he would invest in a variety of these companies, but he let me sit in on these pitches, and then afterwards, and this went on for months, he would come back and say, okay, what'd you like about it? Why should I not do it? And he'd be asking me these questions, and all of a sudden I'm sitting in these rooms listening to these pitches going, are you an idiot? Like, why are you coming here pitching this when you don't know And these are the
Totally.
questions that you have to answer. Like, how much money do you want? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
you have to know this stuff.
Yep.
These are the basics, but the amount of people that I saw come into this well-known, you guys would know this guy, well-known entrepreneur, and he has the ability to give you money to invest in your company, and you can't answer a simple question like an executive summary. Like the
Yeah.
guys that came in with books,
Yeah.
that was like, okay, where do we want to start? You know, but the executive summary was just, okay, thank you. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a breath of
Mm-hmm.
fresh air, hearing exactly what a person wants, where they're going, paragraph about their marketing strategy, sales strategy. It
Exactly.
it
All
was
of it.
great.
Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, it was very interesting. It was probably one of the most informative couple of months that I had, was this guy letting me sit in, and then telling him later, hey, oh, and by the way,
Mm-hmm.
when we did this, like in some of the cases, he would say, Norm, why don't you take this one? And he would be there, he'd be listening, and I'd
Cool.
be the guy asking the questions. So
That's
it got
wonderful.
me kind of fine-tuned on, what to ask for. And anyways, it was a lot of fun back then. So
That's some of the most valuable experience so I've been on investor side as well.
yeah,
I worked for a private equity company. So that's one of the reasons I can put a good package together for financing, because I've been on that side of the table.
right. Yeah, it's just a very interesting thing
Hmm.
to see what they are looking for.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're at the bottom of the hour. I hope you guys are finding this really interesting. It's so bloody important that your cash flow is in line. We're going to get into some other questions in a second, but if you do have questions for Matt about cash flow, make sure you throw them over. Um, I know I would take advantage of this. We talk about this quite a bit on the podcast, but take advantage of this expert. Everybody must have issues with cash flow at some point. Ask the question. Now, we have a great giveaway today. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. All of you that are been on this podcast before, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you will get a second entry. If you've never seen this podcast before, this is what we do every podcast: is we have a giveaway. Typically, it's from the person, the guest, and today we do have a great giveaway from the guest. So, Matt, why don't you tell us what we're doing?
Yeah. So the person that wins, they'll just email me, or I'll get my contact info, and I'll get on the phone with you for half an hour. We can talk about whatever you like. If you don't have an agenda per se, I'm happy to come with one. But you get to pick my brain. Ask me anything you like for half an hour, and I'll give you the best information that I can.
Perfect. And I can tell you from experience, talking to a CFO or a fractional CFO is not cheap. So this
No.
is awesome. This guy knows his stuff. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. And I already see that Andrew's in there. All right, Kels, a word from our sponsor, and we'll be right back. I want to thank Jeff Schick Legal for sponsoring this episode of Lunch with Norm. You've probably heard on the podcast about Amazon suspensions. They're very real. It can happen at any time. And when it does happen, how do you get out of it? How does the little guy like you and me get out of these suspensions without paying an arm and a leg in legal fees? This is where Jeff Schick Legal is here to help. For a very low monthly retainer, for only $89, get access to Amazon attorney Jeff Schick. That's right. You can sit back, relax, enjoy that cup of coffee while listening to the Lunch with Norm podcast, knowing that you have an advocate and a partner in your business success. But wait, just mention Lunch with Norm and receive 50% off the first 2 months. Get the protection you need and visit jeffschick.com today. That's JEFFSCHICK.com. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, and let's get back to the show. There's so much to talk about. One of the other things, I might be skipping over something here, but it does have to do
Okay.
with cash flow, is a lot of people get their profit and loss. They might get a balance sheet.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get a cash flow report.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's so important that you understand when you're going to run out of money maybe
Yeah.
you need to do a flash sale because next month is going to be tough,
Yep.
making up for whatever it is. You want to talk about that? And the other question, so I'm throwing two. Let's talk about that. And the
Sure.
other is, why don't people get this?
So I'll answer the why don't people get this first. I think the reason that it's tough to understand the cash flows is because it's not really at all connected to anything in your income statement. Now, a lot of times revenue and cash are very similar, and expenses and cash out are also really similar, but they don't have to be. So net income um, is basically related to accounting standards, and moving from accounting standards to cash flow is not always straightforward. In fact, I have a team. My team is working on reconciling cash flows for a much bigger company right now, and we're stuck. Like even for the experts, it can be very hard. So that's why people don't understand it. It's not intuitive. Um, Now, in terms of when you get your financials, um, and the reason you want a cash flow statement is you want to have some idea of how are your corporate activities, revenue, expenses related to cash. Is revenue earned and then you get paid 30 days later? Is an expense incurred and you get paid 30 days later? Or do you prepay for an expense? Or do you get revenue in advance? You need to have a good understanding of those things, because really, if you don't know your cash flow is, it's really tough to manage your business.
Right.
So what I do for clients is when I join with somebody, I make them an income statement forecast, a cash flow forecast, and a balance sheet forecast. And because we have those three things and they're all connected, let's say someone calls me and say, "Hey, I have an opportunity to sell into this type of retailer at this type of payment terms," and my team will put it into the forecast, and then we'll look at what's the impact on margins and cash. So I can say, well, if you do this, you need to go get money, or is sometimes the answer is this is going to be fine, just go ahead and do it. But it's hard to make decisions if you can't see all the pieces.
Got it. Yeah. If you can't see this, if you can't see, how are you going to make that decision?
Exactly.
Yeah. So great point. I
Hmm.
guess another thing that comes up quite a bit, people like marketing expenses. People might overspend, or uh, I think one of the things that I've fallen into is that there's a lot of really good salespeople out there that say that their whatever it is going to work and it's going to triple your sales, and
Hmm.
it does nothing.
Hmm.
I spend different types of into different types of marketing. Sometimes I get horrible return, and now that affects my cash flow. But
Hmm.
let's talk about marketing expenses. How do you even manage the market spend?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk about the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So, the reason I say it's the best way is because it allows you to spend kind of whatever you want within certain limits. Um, Maximize your spend within certain limits. And I actually spoke with somebody from Viore recently, one of their international sort of VPs, and that's what they do also. So here's what you do. Um, you need to understand the contribution margin of a sales channel. And what that is if I earn a dollar revenue from, let's say, Shopify, what are all the variable expenses that I'm going to take out of it? So you take a dollar, you take out your cost of goods sold. So you have 60 cents left. Take out your shipping, 50 cents left. Take out your payment processing, 47 cents left. Now take out your marketing. How many cents per dollar is your marketing? 25, 20, whatever the number is. Okay. So let's say it's 25, you have 22 cents left. And so that 22 cents left after all the variable expenses is left over to cover your fixed costs. Or if you've already broken even, it goes into your pocket after tax, of course. And so what I want people to do is come up with a minimum and a maximum contribution margin that you're willing to handle. So I would say the minimum is 20% if you want to grow aggressively. And there should be a maximum, because if, let's say, your contribution margin is 35, 40%, it just means there's money on the table. You're not spending enough to acquire enough customers, and you're just leaving a ton of money on the table, leaving lifetime value on the table. So I would suggest between 20, maybe even 15 if you're like if you really know how to manage cash flow and everything, but 15 to, let's say, 35% within those bounds, your marketing agency should spend aggressively, right? If it's up at 35, they should probably be spending more. If it's hitting around 20, they should be starting to slow down. And the reason why is because the more you spend, if you spend and the contribution margin decreases, you're reducing your fixed cost coverage or making a lot less money. Obviously, if you have a negative contribution margin, every dollar you sell, you lose more money, right? So you have to know what your contribution margin is, and ideally by sales channel. So that's the best way to manage your marketing, and you can map this out weekly. There are some connectors you can use, Triple Whale, or you could probably use Supermetrics to pull a number of these things for you. Put them in a Google Sheet week by week. If your margin is 25% one week, spend more the next week and see what happens. If it stays at 25%, spend even more. If it stays, spend even more. If it starts to decay, you need to pull back a little bit and figure out what's going on. But that's the way to manage marketing spend.
Okay, and those connectors you were talking about, can you go through them? You said Triple Whale?
Sure. So Triple Whale they're like a marketing attribution software for e-commerce Shopify stores. They will help you understand which of your ads are working the best. Facebook, what's happened, as we all know, iOS has changed, and so Facebook can't track people as effectively as it used to. And so Triple Whale claims to be able to track people better than Facebook can now, and I think in some cases they're correct. But they also have reporting features. The reporting features you can use to take revenue and take out all your variable expenses and tell you what that number is on a daily, weekly basis. So that's Triple Whale. Supermetrics is all they are it's a connector. So Supermetrics would allow you to connect to your Shopify, Facebook, Instagram, Amazon, I think, and pipe that information into a Google Sheet. From there, you can sort of do the addition and subtraction for your contribution margin, sales, cost of goods sold, and all the other variable pieces. Those are just two of the options you can use. Well, I can't hear you, Norm.
Helps if I turn my mic on. Okay, let's talk about bookkeeping for a second. Any tips that you can give to any of the entrepreneurs listening?
Yeah, everybody should have a bookkeeper, and everybody should be getting their books done monthly. It sounds counterintuitive, but if you want to grow, if you want to get money, if you want to do something, do something well, you need to have a bookkeeper, and they need to be closing your books monthly. Why? Well, if you can't see what's happening in your business, decisions you make are always suboptimal, right? Your bookkeeper will close your books. They'll send you a financial statement. You can look at it. Am I profitable? Am I not profitable? Where is this all going? Is there a trend in what's happening? Is revenue decreasing, increasing? Is my margins getting squeezed? So you got to get bookkeeping now. And if you need money, either financing or equity, you have to have up-to-date books to get it. In the first 9 months, 12 months of COVID, I was out trying to help Canadian entrepreneurs access all the government support. So I spoke with probably 400 entrepreneurs. The majority of them didn't get money. And the main reason why they didn't have up-to-date books. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. And the government, various programs needed you to submit interim financials, and nobody could. So by the time they figured it out, the programs were all closed. It's really sad, actually.
Yeah, I did have and he's probably listening, but I had a really great business partner, and he was on the other side of the spectrum. So he literally would go into our accountant and he would have a shoebox. And I'm not kidding. It was a shoebox. Okay. And it was every receipt from throughout the year. Yep. And he would hand it to the accountant. And I would say, why do you do that? He goes, I just don't have time to do it. And I said, but you, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, totally.
And he thought I was wasting time, like doing my thing with my books, and this is all personal stuff. He goes, I'll pay him. Okay, go ahead. But this is a guy, and you know who you are, that would just hand over a shoebox. And I thought that was so hilarious that, and here I am so anal, putting in, like, on my personal side, spending time every morning or
Totally.
every Saturday morning doing my books, keeping
Yeah.
sure. And he was, but you know what? He's going to live a lot longer than me, because it was just,
Yeah, I mean,
uh,
you can do it all kinds of ways, but I'm similar to you. I have a software that I can I can like take a picture of a receipt, throw it in the
yeah.
software. My accountant approves it, and it goes into QuickBooks, and it tags the receipt to the entry in QuickBooks as well. So everything's there always.
Yeah. And there is, what is it called? Dext?
Yeah, Dex is one I use. HubDoc, yeah, both
Oh,
do the same.
I used to use HubDoc, yeah.
Okay.
But this is the beauty of these two. So Dext or
Hmm.
HubDoc, and they go in. They have access to, I think Dext says, about a thousand different uh, suppliers. And anyways, your bank statements automatically got uploaded, because I do that. I used to do it all manually. Go in,
Yeah,
go into the TD, go into the Royal
yeah,
Bank, and you'd have to upload them. They just go in, done. You don't even have to think about it.
so
The
great.
bookkeeper gets them, and then you have a hard copy of anything that you need. Now,
Hmm.
there are a lot of suppliers that they don't, like, because of the industry we're in, they don't have that, but you just upload the receipts. It's very easy. And I've personally used both, and both are great.
Cool. Yeah, yeah, from what I understand, Dex has a bit more functionality to it than HubDoc does. Yeah, so I should switch over at some point. But
Yeah. And you know what? You're going to save time. If your
oh yeah,
bookkeeper is doing this, you're going to pay more than the monthly fee.
oh 100%. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, now that we started, that's a nice segue into other tools, courses, software. What are some other things that you could recommend?
Yeah. So let's see. Um, Float, I believe Float is a financial planning sort of SaaS. If you don't have budget for a CFO or it's not the right time, you can use Float. What Float does is it connects to your accounting, and I believe it connects to your bank, and it will sort of automatically generate a forecast for you. Now, I know an entrepreneur in New York, and they're doing multiple, like, high seven figures, and he uses Float for his financial planning. He doesn't need a CFO for him.
Huh.
Float is working out pretty good, and what you can do with Float is, like I say, it connects to your stuff. Yeah, thank you. And you can, like, hit a few buttons, and it will just generate a forecast for you.
Are you
From
kidding?
there, no, it's great. It's really great. It
I've
can be a
never heard
little,
of it.
yeah, it can be a little, like, it can be tough to use depending on who you are, but it is a great tool. And then you'll have, like, sort of your kind of base case forecast. You can use Float to create a couple scenarios. So what if I land this project? How does it look? Or what if I lose this project? How does it look? Or so you can use a bunch of scenarios. You can add staff in there to see what cash flow would look like. That's a great app to use.
Wow.
Yep. Um, QuickBooks Online, Zero, Dex, HubDoc. Obviously, those are your core kind of accounting softwares. Um, Something for reporting would be important, right? So the financials are very important, but they're not the only thing you should know about. The contribution margin is one. Your CAC, your weekly ad spend, your efficiency. You should have some sort of software that can provide you at least weekly flash reports on the most important metrics for you and your business. Um, you could use Supermetrics and Google Sheets. You can use uh, Google Analytics. I think you can use Google Data Studio, and you could use Power BI for Microsoft. And for all these platforms, they can be a little difficult to set up, but you can find people on Upwork to set them up for you and give you the metrics that you want, and probably for under $1,000. So those are probably the core things. Definitely use a payroll software,
Yeah.
whether it's QuickBooks or Payworks or ADP. Use something. Don't do it on your own. You want to automate the remittances back to the government, whatever country you're in. You want to automate the correct calculations. So use payroll software. What else can I say? Project management's a good one. Asana, ClickUp, one of those things, just to keep track of what's going on, who's doing what, you know. But in terms of financial software, I mean, reporting and accounting, those are the big ones.
Okay, so Kelsey, Mary, if we could just make sure that we get that into the show notes as well. Those are all really great apps.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's probably the end of my questions. Kels,
Hmm.
why don't we go to some of the questions? I see there's some comments and some questions that have come in.
Yeah, so we have one question from Chuck. Is there a reason not to hire a VA from overseas to do your bookkeeping versus a domestic bookkeeper?
Yeah. Generally, there is not a reason. So what I'm saying is, you could be fine either way. Hire someone from overseas or hire someone here. The only differences will be if you hire someone from overseas, it can be tough for the average business owner to assess someone's accounting knowledge if they're not an accountant.
Mhm.
Um, but if you find someone who's good, they're going to do just as well or a better job than a CPA from Canada. It's just can be hard to figure out what are their skills. Now, if you use an agency, usually you should be okay. But if you want to just find someone from Upwork, for example, you'll just have to have a good idea of how your books run. What are your SOPs? What are your quirks of your accounting? And as long as you have those documented, any VA should be fine.
Yeah, and one thing about this, I think that you have to make sure that whoever you hire, uh, domestically or overseas, that they understand Amazon or e-commerce.
Hmm.
There's a big difference. Anyways, I have a firm, and I've worked with them for years in India. They're great. They're great, and they have their entry. So you have data entry. So
Hmm.
we every receipt, like I said, goes over to them every day. They enter it, they upload it, and then what they end up doing is, if I have questions, they have 5 levels of people of support,
Yeah.
and it's great. Now they don't have. I actually asked them about this. Do you have fractional CFO? No, but they've got everything up to that point
Hmm.
where if I have to go through, if I have specific questions that a data entry person couldn't do,
Hmm.
all right, let's go to the next level. If
Wow.
they
Awesome.
can't, they bring it up to the next level. And it's very, very inexpensive for what I like, the amount of work that I give them. They're
Hmm.
also doing all my invoicing. So they do it, I check it, I send it out. So that saves time. Now I do have the one thing that I have is a family member, Hayden, who is the producer for The People,
Hmm.
as you know, if anybody's listening. Anyway, he does a lot of my bank work. You know, I trust it to him. He goes in, he just makes sure everything's okay. But again, if you're using Dext, that information should just go over
Yep.
automatically. Um, that's my spiel on that. But
Cool.
over here or over there, there are people that we have in the group, like Lil Roberts. She's another person that's in the group. There's a couple of others, but you can't do a business without them. You
No,
have to have a bookkeeper.
you do. Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah, and also you have to have a good accountant.
Yes. Very important.
Yeah, two
Very
different
important.
things. Your bookkeeper is not your accountant.
No, not at all. No, no, no. What's the name of your bookkeeping, the agency you use?
Zendu. Oh, the one that I use,
Yeah.
the one in India.
Yeah.
Lil's is Zendu. That's domestically.
Hmm.
Coincidentally enough,
Hmm.
talk about this as a coincidence. My company is called Flat World Networks. Okay.
Hmm.
Not Flat Earth, Flat World Networks. Their company is called Flat World Networks.
What?
Yes.
Huh.
.in or Flat World Solutions.
That's too
I'm
funny.
Flat World Networks.
Wow.
And if anybody wants any introductions, I'd be more than happy to send you. I don't get an affiliate or commission for this,
Hmm.
but they're a good firm, and they're for what I get, they're very inexpensive. They run two of my companies. I do another one domestically,
Hmm.
but yeah, they do a good job.
Cool.
Hey,
Okay. Yep.
now the next comment, Chuck did say this he was kind of answered already, but I just thought if there's any other additions to it. But Chuck is asking, is there a reason for hiring someone specific to e-commerce Is it beneficial or does it not matter?
My opinion is that you want to have someone who understands e-commerce. There's a few things about it, where to get the data from, what the data means. Where if someone who's seen Shopify, seen Amazon, they're going to understand. How do you account for the reserve that Amazon keeps? That they don't pay you all the way out. They hold a reserve. They're going to understand how to account for that. They're going to understand how to account for all the various payment processing sources that you might use on Shopify. Um, they're also going to understand where to find the data so that you don't have to constantly be looking for it yourself. That's one. It's just efficient. It's more efficient, is what I would say. What about you, Norm?
Yeah, it's more efficient. You get a better understanding of what the exact fees are that that are being sent over to you. It's a better breakdown, so you understand the fees, because like when I started out with Amazon, the fees were so much less. And I don't even think they broke 20 points like in the FBA model. Now they're getting up there. They're 27, 30, 31%, and they keep climbing. Where are the fees? It's not just your pick and pack fee. And just look at your statement when they bring it out. There's a ton of fees. And I get those all in a separate line item, so at the end of the year, I can see what I'm paying. And it can also help you if there's a mistake. So anyways, I like that. I like the ability that my bookkeeper understands e-commerce, and that they could just create certain line items that are that I need to understand my business better.
Yep, I'm with you.
All right, Kels.
All right, so we just have one from Luke. He says, I have lots of questions, I'm sure, but I don't know what I don't know, so I don't even know exactly what to ask. And Chuck also says, great, thank you. And
there was a long, I saw one from Claudia.
That was about, that's not about today. Oh, there's a phone going off. But anyways, that was about the HTS codes from Whole New Worldwide.
Okay. All right. Very good. And by the way, talk about Cashflow. If you don't have the proper tariff code coming into the US, you could be spending, it could be 35% extra on your cost of goods that you're spending. And these are things that with like understanding either from your broker or if you're talking to Afalabi, these are things that can save you a ton. I know with my soap, I've said this before, I sell natural soaps. Okay. They're cold processed soaps, and I was paying 17%. He took a look at it and he said, why are you not bringing this in as a Castile soap? Well, what do you mean? He says, well, yours is olive oil based, right? And I said, yes. He goes, well, that's zero. I said, are you kidding? And I know, I've been in sourcing forever, and he just saved me 17%. Wow. And he did this, like these signs during the quarantine. They were these signs, these metal signs that were talking about quarantine, and the guy was paying 35%. And it ended up being an advertisement sign, which ended up being zero. From 35% to nothing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you might not, by going in and checking with your broker, you might not get anything. The problem is some of the brokers don't know, you pay them to do this. And I know we found some errors, and the brokers were really hard to convince that this was right. They were wrong. But it's always good to check that out. And that's one area when you're looking for, you want cash flow, talk to your suppliers, see if you can get better terms, see if you can get 30 days rather than paying up front.
Always.
Yeah. These are things that you can do to get extra cash flow. But
one, if I may interject with one trick that it was not a trick, but I got a supplier from 30 days to 60 days. And what I did was I offered them 1.5% more than I would normally be paying. And they took it like easy. Now, it might not always work if you're working with an overseas supplier, But if you're sourcing domestically and they're like on the larger side and your margins are okay, offer them 1.5% for 30 more days. And my supplier took it within 3 hours, took the offer right away.
Yeah, in the incentive business, this is not talking about private label business. We had tons of different suppliers. It could be cap suppliers, pen suppliers, whatever suppliers. And we gave them the title of the preferred supplier. And as a preferred supplier, you would be paid in, we stretched it out to 45 days. But
Awesome.
45 days, but you were a preferred supplier. And that just gave us a little bit extra wiggle room with our cash flow. And it didn't cost us anything more. It just gave us a little bit more time to play with money.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyways, I love talking about cash flow. There's so many tips and tricks that you can do to really kill it with your cash flow. This is where you level the playing field with your competitor.
Yeah.
This is where you get ahead of your competitor because they don't know enough about cash flow to take advantage of it. And at the end of the day, who walks away with more money in their jeans?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, Matt, why don't we get your information? And if anybody's interested in getting a hold of your company, where do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So you're welcome to go to my website. It's 8x.co. You could also find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you go to LinkedIn, just search for Matt Putra. You'll find me. You're welcome to connect. Send me a DM, whatever you need. I try to post frequently, and a lot of times my posts come from questions that I've received. So if you have a question, feel free to ask.
Fantastic. All right, so let's go to last word from our sponsor, and then we'll get over to the Wheel of Kelsey. And by the way, if you haven't entered the Wheel of Kelsey, you don't know what it is. It's a 30-minute consult call with Matt, and just hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you will get a second entry. A big thank you to our sponsor, Post Purchase Pro, the only complete A to Z done for you real email and text marketing service built specifically for Amazon sellers. Post Purchase Pro creates all of your digital assets 100% for you, from marketing inserts, complete sales funnels, email follow-up sequences, and weekly email promotions. They manage and optimize everything for you to drive more sales, get higher ranking, and receive more reviews on Amazon. So check out Post Purchase Pro now to see if you too will see enormous growth like their nearly 500 clients worldwide. That's Post Purchase Pro at postpurchasepro.com/lunch. Okay, now I do want to ask before we get over to the wheel, because as soon as we do the wheel, everybody kind of dissipates. So while we have everybody's attention, I did something the other day that was a little bit different. I posted something about going live on Amazon. And what I did is I took one company, I took the owner and came on. And the reason why I did this is all on Amazon Live, is I wanted to show the passion of the brand owner and them talking about their products. And Oliver came on, he talked about his products. I posted it in the group. I got a really good response in the Amazon during the Amazon Live, which was great. I'd like to do that more often. If you guys are okay with it, this is all part and parcel of this experiment that I'm doing, trying to build up this follower base through Amazon Live or through any other social media channel. I mean, we don't have a follower right now. I think on TikTok, which has nothing, and I think on Instagram that has it. You go there, it just says Lunch with Norm Deals, but there's nothing there, nothing posted. And I think some have 0, and I might have 1 on another one, but we're starting it fresh January 1st. We're going to pump out this information. But if you want to follow along, it'll be go to TikTok. But during these Amazon Lives, I love to have interaction. I don't have to have you go out and buy anything. I would never do that to you. But if you want to go and see what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and just a bit of support would be awesome. But if you don't mind, I'd love to be able to put it into the group a few times. And if you see it come up, I'm trying to post it a day in advance or just as I'm going live. If you want to take part in it, that would be awesome. That would be a a ton of help to me. Like, it was really great. When I did this, we started having this huge conversation online from comments that were coming in. And I thought, now this is engaging.
Mhm.
It's different sitting there going, hi, my name is Norm, and this is what. But when you have somebody and people talking back to you about the product and how you use it, that's awesome. So if you want, that's great. If there's some negative about it, let me know. I'm a big boy, but I want to give what I can to the group. If this is a bit too much, let me know. If it's not and you want more, let me know that as well. Okay, let's go over to the Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, here we go. We can't hear you, Kels, but you're spinning the wheel.
All right, here we go. Yes, thank you everyone for entering the Wheel of Kelsey. We're going to shuffle these up and let's see who today's winner is. If you are the winner, please email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com. And let's see, it looks like Marina.
All right.
All right.
Marina, congratulations. You are today's winner, so please email me, k@lunchwithnorm.com, and I'll connect you with Matt, and we'll get you
another
that,
Canadian. There we go.
30-minute
That's
consultation.
All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I think it was really informative. Lots of great stuff. I hope I can get you back onto the podcast because
Sure.
just what we talked about was the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that we could have talked about. But thank you. If you don't mind, just stick around after we pull you from the podcast, and I'll be right back to you. You'll just go back into the waiting room.
Okay, no problem.
All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed our show today. It's such an important topic. The number one reason why people go under, why small business goes under, is they don't understand cash flow. The more you understand it, the better. There are courses out there that will get you to understand your cash flow better. But even better than that, get a bookkeeper, get a real accountant, get somebody that knows how to help you out. Now, what you pay for them, and if you want, by the way, if you are about to pay for somebody, let us know in the group, and we could tell you whether you're getting hosed or if it's something that's worthwhile. Because sometimes you're a small business, you're just getting started, you don't have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It doesn't cost that much. And I'm telling you from experience, I have 2 businesses that are running overseas that I am happy with. I get my information, I get my invoicing done, and this isn't even it is for Amazon, but I'm talking about a lot of invoicing going out to different suppliers for my other business. So anyway, thank you for joining us today. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with